Burning away, there. Burning away, there. Hello, everybody. Welcome into episode 63 of the From the Firefly podcast. My name is Callum. I will be your host as always. Apologies for that intro. We're doing a late night show. Maybe a bit delusional, Lulu. But I've just spent 45 minutes to an hour talking about this game, and now I've got to reset the stage. For those listening, I can maybe give a couple more of my personal thoughts. But I don't know how I feel about yesterday in a way that I think I can sort of concisely explain. It's been sort of on my mind all day. This wasn't the game I expected to get very much from. I'm not someone who was looking at this as the game we were going to get the point that we need. But I left the ground, and as much as I haven't been angrier leaving a football ground than I was leaving Hillsborough last weekend, I think my head went so far up to sort of Mars or so far up to Jupiter that I almost didn't have the energy to do it again last night, and I can't figure out whether it's because I sort of just expected not to get anything, or whether it's just because this team has absolutely worn me down, and these last 6 to 8 weeks have just left me feeling pretty numbed out to it, to be honest with you. I didn't feel this great sense of anger. I didn't feel this great sense of annoyance. I just felt this sort of emptiness and sort of sadness. And it's a reminder, I guess, that's what football is, right? It gives you the highs of Wembley, and it gives you the lows of what last night felt like. The game itself was, I thought, reasonably even for a lot of it. We don't have the quality Ipswich have. Jack Clark by himself was about 15 million, wasn't he? So 13 million. That was our entire summer budget, right? They brought a player, 19-year-old winger from Norway or whatever it was, for what, close to 30 million, 19 million, 19, 19? I can't remember if it was 19 or 30 now, but I think it was somewhere in, it's in the upper teens, mid 20s maybe. Matasua's a player that, we're never going to get up at that quality. We're just not. Could you stay come back on loan? We're not going to get up at that quality where we are. And I think that quality really sort of showed out. It was weird when we got the lineups. The real concern was Murray Belt left wing back, and we'll come to that. But he made 8 changes, and he changed the keeper. And I have to do a slight mea culpa on the keeper because I thought it would give us this big spark. He didn't. He messed up the penalty save terribly. I think there were reasons for that. I'll come to it in a few minutes. He made 2 worldy saves in the second half, 2 double saves, which prevented us from getting battered, I think, ultimately at the end. But their quality just sort of overwhelmed us in the second part of that second half. The centre backs, Sechenje came in to start. I thought he had a great moment where he just sort of knocked Jaden Philogene almost into next week. He was okay, I thought, on the night. Fevrier came in with Harry Clark obviously not able to play against his parent club. I thought he was pretty good. Macaulay Gillespie came in. I thought he was dreadful. Lloyd Jones is Lloyd Jones. As I said, Bell started the left wing back. We'll come back to that. The midfield was Coventry, Dock, and Costello. Maybe a bit defensive, sort of, when you first see it on a screen, but actually made a little bit more sense than what I thought about it. Obviously, Cody can't play 3 times in a week. But it is weird to me that he keeps doing this thing where he takes a player out, puts them out in the cold, and then sort of brings them back in as a starter. I don't know if that's a great way to do it, but um, you know. But I thought Coventry was okay. I thought Doc was the best player on the pitch from our side. Ran around, real captain's performance. I thought that Frankie Costello was pretty anonymous, but I don't think he was terrible. And then the front two were Tyrese Campbell and Charlie Kelman. Tyrese Campbell, presses for that first goal. It takes a loose sort of touch ball, picks it up, takes a shot at the keeper, snapshots it at Walton. Walton kind of spills it outwards, and Doherty's there for a really nice finish from the top of the box. And after a minute, you just thought, oh my god, yes. And reminder, we're playing a team that are only 10th in the division for away form. I thought, yeah, we're going to get in their heads. And then we dominated for that first sort of 15, 20 minutes again, like we did against Preston. But same as against Preston, we didn't get the second goal. And a team with that quality, you're going to need 2 goals because you're unlikely to keep them out the way we did at Portman Road. And then Amari Bell went off injured. And much like Coventry, you felt it get a bit flat. The shape had to change. Chambers came on. But their first goal came after a couple of moments as one where Charlie Kelman gets through the box. Tyrese Campbell's breaking down the middle, cross it over to him. It's a tap in 2-0. Tries to shoot. Vevrier gets a chance to cross the ball in, decides to shoot on the near post when you shouldn't be. And really, that was it for chances for us. And for the rest of the game, it was us battling to keep Ipswich at bay, which for a lot of the game we did okay with, right? But after that injury, the first is such a poor goal to concede. And we concede far too many goals like this under Nathan Jones and have done since he's come in. 2.5 years of conceding this exact goal. It is a wonderful finish. It's a wonderful finish from Furlong. But he's allowed to basically just pass it in. Keeper can't get anywhere near it. It's hit that close to the inside of the post. It's an absolute beauty. And then we get into half time. They're sort of on top of it a little bit, but it's not like they're peppering our goal. And I thought, okay, we go in. Before half time, I should mention the other big injury was to Tyrese Campbell, right? Who I don't know how that wasn't a foul. And we'll come to the referee in a few minutes, but he goes down. It's not walking very well. Tries to get back on to save a substitution window and quickly comes off at half time. That's a really big loss for us, I think, over the next couple of games. But we're getting at half time. I think it's 1-1. We've got an opportunity here. You think you're going to come out with a bit of vigour. Not at all. We came out flat. Same as we did against Preston, flat. Let them dominate the ball. They get into our penalty area a couple of times. No, we don't shoot. I think one went just wide, and then all of a sudden, it's a simple ball around the back. It's the same sort of ball that we've conceded the last couple of weeks, right? The same pass being allowed to be made, and Macaulay Gillespie gets himself in a tussle, and it's a tumble, and it's a blatant penalty. Is it a soft penalty? Yeah, it's a blatant penalty. I've seen those not given, but this referee wasn't going to give us that. Last night, Philogene steps up and he hits a really, really bad penalty, and Thomas Kaminski should save it. I think I said this on the Chronicles earlier, but he gets sussed out. It's such a bad penalty. That as a goalkeeper, when you're looking at a player like Philogene, you think they're going to hit it in the corner. And if you go back and watch the Wrexham penalty where Kaminski almost gets to, I think it's Sam Smith, almost it's Windass or Smith almost gets to his penalty. It's because he goes early and he goes quickly, and he basically dives over the ball, really. And it's one of those. I've been a keeper. It's a horrible one to concede. It looks a lot worse than it is. It's still a mistake. But you go to throw yourself and to try and get that little bit extra height, you keep your body just up in the air so you can push. And he's hit it so poorly that you can't get your stomach back down, and it squirms under you, and you can't adjust. And from there, the moment that goal went in, I thought we are not getting back into this game. and we didn't. Walton didn't have a save to make second half. Their defenders were dealing with everything. The referee was making some truly genuinely baffling decisions in terms of fouls, and his linesman was even worse in terms of what was a goal kick, what was a corner, and we just played long balls up. And if you're going to play long balls at 6'7", Jacob Greaves' head is a pointless endeavour. And I'd love to sort of sit here and say that we were robbed by bad. If we weren't robbed, we got beaten by a better team, right? It's a team that has more quality than we do. And unlike when Pompey played them and got the rub of the green and got that really high press, and we tried that and it worked, right? We got the same sort of effect, but they adjusted in a way that they didn't at Fratton Park, and it it was so immensely frustrating that the difference in the two games really was that Ipswich took their chances against us, and we didn't take our 2 or 3 opportunities to start the game, and after the first goal went in, and Pompey took theirs, and that's the difference. If somebody had told me after Oxford that West Brom, Blackburn, and Pompey all would have secured uh, safety before us, I would have thought you were mad. We're in that situation now, and it's a question of either we get a point against Hull. I struggle to see how we're going to get that anything more than trying to sort of grind out a 0-0. Although they haven't won in 5, and they're not on a great run themselves, and Leicester gave them a hell of a game on the final day. They haven't thrown the last game and really should have won the game. Or Sheffield Wednesday does us a huge favour. It's not impossible. Do I think it's likely? Probably not. Oxford does a favour by just being unable to score against Wednesday. Or we go to Swansea and get something, which again feels pretty unlikely. Or our big rivals keep us up. And look, the percentages suggest that we should be fine. It doesn't feel that way. Doesn't feel that way at all. I really want to chat again about goalkeeping because it's the thing that I sort of know best. It was a position I played for a very long time. And I was texting Paul B he was on the Chronicle sometimes, like a friend of mine. And I went to him, I was like, I think we've got 2 mentally shot goalkeepers here. And I think we do. And what happens when you're a keeper who's mentally shot is the things that you do really, really well, you start to struggle with because you almost start to think about it. So with Kaminsky last night, he overthought the penalty, right? He thought, I've got to get to the corner instead of sort of reacting to the ball. Right, he's got fast enough reflexes where he shouldn't have had to worry about that. But you start to overthink it. I think that you get the same with the what am I trying to say? With Mannion, right? When he's sort of trying to go out, against Sheffield Wednesday, you just leave that ball for your centre back. But you try to sort of overcompensate because you're worried about sort of facing a shot, because you're worried about making a mistake. And I think both keepers, because we do not score goals, are really worried that they're going to make an error. And we're going to sit there and we're going to psychoanalyze it. And we are, because you have to when your keeper makes an error. But the exchange for that is, after that, Kaminsky makes 2 world-class double saves to keep Ipswich out. And so it's not physical, it's mental. And I do think that, as much as I've been very clear on this podcast, I think Jim Broadbell should depart this summer. I think we need to look at some of the coaching decisions outside of just Nathan. Nathan takes the brunt of a lot of it, and he should. He's the manager. But a real red flag for me was when Thomas Kaminsky, in an interview in February, I think it was called the Substack, said, I've been up and down. And I thought it was such a strange thing for a goalkeeper to admit to, because goalkeeping is all mental. It's all about maintaining that confidence, even if you make a mistake. I don't think fans of the club help by being ridiculously critical of him at all times for everything and anything. I saw somebody last night talking about, oh, a Luton fan said he was a flapper. And I was like, but there was no flapping yesterday. There's nothing to flap at, right? He did everything else except for that penalty very well. A couple of kicks, okay, but that's not his game. But I do think that a really good goalkeeping coach is able to talk to the keeper and go, look, here's all the best saves you ever made. Get that confidence back up, make them feel like they're invincible again. And I just don't think that that comes through with Henderson. And it's not the first set of goalkeepers he's had that struggled. Ousted and Maynard Brewer, are making errors. So I think that the club needs to have a look at that position as well, that goalkeeping coach, because goalkeeping coaching really is about kind of being a therapist as much as it's about, doing warm ups and goalkeeping drills. It's about providing that experience. I think we don't have a third choice that provides that experience. And one can argue, look, Thomas Kaminski should provide it. He's 34 or whatever he is. But, there's a reason why really big clubs, most of them have a very experienced third choice. It's less so in the Championship. I understand that. But if you can't have it on your bench, have it as your coach. It's somebody that can really kind of get through to the mental aspect of the game. And I just think that with Hendo, it's too many keepers now that he's just not been able to keep mentally sort of either switched on or to stop them from looking so fragile. In terms of relegation, Oxford have to beat Sheffield Wednesday and they have to beat Millwall. Sheffield Wednesday at home, we'd expect them to win. It's hard to imagine if you look at the math is. By Millwall, what I'm looking for in the playoffs is to avoid Southampton at all costs. Right? You hope kind of what happened with Charlton that Southampton run into six-seeded Wrexham, who want revenge for the 5-1 game and give them a real battle. Much like Stockport losing to Leyton Orient, right? For us, really helps in terms of getting when you get to the final. If I'm Millwall, I'd much rather play Borough than I would play Southampton or other than Southampton. And it could be another way, right? I think Borough still technically can finish second. You don't know with these sorts of things. I don't think they will, but I think Millwall will have something to play for on the final day, and that hopefully will mean that they're not resting lots and lots of players, because I think they're still positioning stuff that they'll be interested in. And also, I think the rest of the players on the final day, most playoff teams don't do it as much anymore. You might change keeper out or something like that, but Crocom's a decent backup for him, right? It's not like they're sort of playing some unknown backup. So I still expect us to stay up. I think we still will stay up. I think that you'd rather be in our position than in Oxford's, but I really struggled to see. I was getting a point on Saturday, and the club put out a video. It's Nathan Jones asking us all to be there, to be loud, to create an atmosphere. It's a huge, huge game. If we get the point here, we move on to the summer, and if you look at the 4 or 5 players that have been linked, Adramola, Dobson, Clark, and the right winger from Bristol City's name I completely forgotten today. Those are 4 players that massively upgrade this squad in terms of some of the things that we need. So I do think that they're looking in the right places and trying to rectify some of that sort of some of the mistakes. But we've got to get the point to get there, or Oxford have to mess it up. So I joked sort of semi about Burton away, but it's possible. It's absolutely possible that we're playing Burton Albion and Bromley, and Leicester and Sheffield Wednesday again next season. I really hope we're not, but it is possible. And these players have to get themselves out of this mess. This manager has to get this one pre-match, halftime, whatever it is, speech right. Has to get this set up right. We're on 1 day less rest than Hull. An early kickoff. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be 20 degrees, right? It's perfect football weather. Let's hope we show up. But I'm gonna come and take a couple of comments now. Hello to Sam. Definitely here to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much. I do disclaimer: Sam is a friend of mine, so um, so I pay him to say that every week. I've seen the video Club put out just posted. It's mental. I don't know if it's mental. I think they're trying to drum up support. Makes sense now. Why'd you send me a song? Oh no, that's a full person. Mark, late night show. With Callum been waiting for this moment. Where do I tip? For goodness sakes, Mark. For goodness sakes. I continue to play Block Blast at the start of the second half, for someone lost interest. Yeah, it was a rough second half to watch. It was really rough. I knew going there yesterday, Survival didn't hinge on that yesterday. Every one of their subs would walk into our team and be the best player. I was always looking at Hull and Swansea. Yeah. I mean, you've got to. I think for me, I think it was the manner of it. It's the manner of it that was the problem, and it really proved the point, right? That the good teams win when they play badly. That wasn't the best that Ipswich can play, and they won the game, and they were relieved at the end of it. We did give them a game. Right? I think there's a little bit of, and I think it's probably the injuries more than anything else. There's a lot of people going around sort of being completely defeatist. Oh, we can't do this now. We gave them a game, right? And the frustrating thing is we're at the point in the season where giving someone a game isn't good enough. You just need the result somewhere, and until we get that result, my nerves are going to feel as they do now that they've been put on a cheese grater and sort of slowly moved up and down. Sam saying those few times that when Fev was attacking down the right, Collins was moving to right wing back, Coventry came to support Lloyd. Yeah, it's to try and sort of spread the pitch, trying to get some width, because 5 backs require width. Let's not get Mark started on 5 backs. Sam saying, do we know how bad the injuries are? No one knows. No. I mean, the Bell one, he did not look comfortable. TC, I guess you're hoping it's a dead leg or something like that. Gordon, that didn't look good. Paul Davenport, more masochism is past the watershed, so okay. Crosby, Kaminsky is so bad he cannot even kick a ball from goal kicks. His distribution was abysmal last night. I mean, it's not his game. It's not his game. In terms of kicking, it's never been his game. I think I said it on the Chronicles. I think there's a fit question here. Is he the right fit to be, for a team like this? I don't know. I've always sort of seen Kaminsky more as a championship side that's pushing on, right? Because you're scoring 2 or 3 goals, so you need a keeper to make world class stops to kind of, I'd be really interested in how many clean sheets Patterson has for Millwall, because I don't think it's a huge number. That's not why he's there. He's there to make the saves in that moment, like he did in the playoff final for Sunderland. And that, I think, is probably the difference. Is that those sorts of, those shot stopping keepers are a lot less consistent in that way. As far as kicking, I mean, it's hard to distribute when there's no one to distribute the ball to. Who in that midfield is going to take a ball down? I think sometimes with great distribution keepers, look who they're playing the ball out to. Because those players, Lloyd Jones isn't great on the ball. Gillespie's okay on the ball. He's not great on the ball. Sechenge's okay on the ball. But, none of them are world class. The ball, Coventry's all right on the ball. For a midfielder, I think he's pretty average. Maybe it's like less than average. The fullback, Fevrier, I think is good, but that's because he's a winger. Chambers is okay. But it's not like Doherty's poor on the ball. So it's not like you're playing it out to these players that can bring the ball down or play with it. And I think that's a massive problem. The other issue is you're using him to basically just kick it long towards Lyndon Dykes' head. Well, yeah, but Greaves is back there and he's 6'7" and will just swallow it all up. So, I think that's a big thing. I'm not going to disagree with you that Jones has signed some absolute crap. He has, right? But bring back Andy Scott. See, Scott's an interesting conversation because he's someone that probably at about a 50% hit rate. And that's actually not terrible for a director of football. I think, if you go to the summer, most of it isn't. Most clubs aren't going to have 100%. I think he signed a lot of crap. I think there was some issues when they first bought the club about how much time they had to do things. Then that probably didn't help him, and then we had that horrible sort of start under Holden, and the Appleton debacle, and all the rest of it. I think the fans are soured by that point. Millwall will still want to win on the final day. Yeah, this is where I am as well. Big incentive to get third place to avoid Southampton and Borough. Can't see Oxford doing Millwall on the final day. I don't think it's Borough you're necessarily worried about. I think it's Southampton. You never know, right? If someone, Southampton lose to Ipswich and Borough then go above them, and then you lose against Oxford and Borough win their game and go above you, and then all of a sudden you're playing Southampton home and away. And I think the real prize is avoiding Southampton home and away. Sam's saying we have two keepers who are both shot with confidence, along with teammates who are lacking confidence as well. As Nathan doesn't allow them to play their own game. Yeah, I mean Nathan's got and Nathan's a nervous wreck. It must rub off on the players. I think these are both fair points. I mean, I made that point about the keepers who are both shot with confidence. But Jones is a uh, and then he said, "Was going to see what you said on the Chronicles. Definitely agree. Worth changing Hendo." Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I'd say it's worth. My thing is that with Rodwell, I will because I find Rodwell to be quite nauseating at times. But with it, just in terms of the way that he speaks about certain things, I don't think he's the most likable bloke. Hendo's a likable bloke. I don't want to sit here and say someone should be sacked in that way. But the thing is that the pattern is too there. Mark Sanders a pub chatter. Hendo's on the chopping block anyway. So hopefully that's true. Yeah, I mean, I think that I say this all the time. I'm a match game fan. I get things wrong all the time. I'm not always right. I try to put my hand up if I'm wrong. On this one, it's like if I can see it, it has to be that they can see it. It doesn't surprise me at all that would be what they're saying. And yeah, to go back to the point, Jones is nervous. Nervous wreck. It must rub off on Buzz. I think it must do, right? He sat there sort of chewing his nails and chewing his things. And there's a lot of stress, right? I think around the football because there's a lot of stress all the time, and that's the bit. If you look at Ipswich when they came in, they're kind of calm. They can see the goal after 1 minute. He's calm. Everything's calm. I think that's what we need. We don't need Appleton, where nothing seems to ever happen. But I think we do need a sense of calmness, and I'm just not sure if we get that. Um, and then it says I get quite annoyed that Hendo arrives after the players arrive before 12 for a 3 p.m. kickoff. It's probably just as a goalkeeping coach. He's probably just he's only has to talk to his to two players, three players if you include Brooks, right? So that I'm a little less. I don't know why he's traveling separately. I would have thought the coaching staff would travel with, but I guess they'll go in separate cars. Sykes is the Bristol lad. That's what I was looking for. It's a good player. It's a good player. The reality is we average 0.9 points per game over the last 30 league games. The alarm bells are surely going off at the club. They must be. They absolutely must be, Mark. I think you're absolutely right. And I think Friedman being over last week is probably an example of that. I think one of the big problems we have with having owners that are so far away and owners that are hands off is that some of that management stuff, and this is where you need Rodwell to be more of a disciplinarian, I think, with Jones than he is. Rather, they're buddies who left Millwall together in the same car, and it's all sort of, Carter's not kind of that guy either. I think you need someone with a bit more sort of, almost oomph, if that makes sense, a bit more sort of strength in terms of dealing with things and being able to sort of say when things aren't great because they don't do anything where they don't go, oh, everything's great, we're overperforming, right? They did the last director meeting or whatever. They were saying, oh, we're overperforming, but as Marcus put here, the form had fallen off a cliff, right? So it is a massive, massive worry, and I hope that is sinking through. 4-4 bleeping 2, says Mark. I'm going to bring it up. I'm just going to bring it up so that he's happy. 4-2-3-1, ideally. With what wingers? And then Sam saying, any person's getting fed up with Nathan keeps saying we're playing a side or established championship side has a bigger budget than us. The one that annoyed me was when he did it at Sheffield Wednesday. That was nonsense. That was utter nonsense. I get it in this particular instance, we were. The problem is a bit of the boy who cried wolf, right? When you say it every single time you don't win. Like Preston have a significant budget. I don't think Preston's budget is going to be absolutely so significant that, for example, we matched what they offered Thierry Small. So their budget can't be sort of completely through the stratosphere. So I think you need to be careful with that. As I say, it's a bit boy who cried wolf, and people stop believing it, really. In all fairness to him, as I say, the wolf was kind of at the door yesterday because that was a team, whereas Marcus put it so wonderfully, right? most of their subs are worth more than our squad. That's for anyone that says they want to see Millwall promoted, that's the worry, is that the players they'll come down with, they'll be battling to be bounced back up, I would have thought. Right, it is a late night show, so I'm going to call it there. I need to get some rest because Lord knows I won't be sleeping very much on Friday night. I hope everybody else gets can get some rest. I hope we sort of. I'm going to read this last comment from Mark. It's a really, really good comment, and then I'm going to say goodbye. Cutter's a nice bloke and a fan, but he's weak. Doesn't seem like anyone is managing Rodwell and Jones. Hands off his family of high level performers in certain positions, which we don't. Yeah, I can't. I really can't disagree with a word of that, Mark. I think that is it, right? And you and I talk when we see each other. We may have a disagreement about formation sometimes, but that's absolutely spot on. And I'm going to leave you all with that, actually. I sat across the table from Jim Robbo recently and categorically say he's not a man who lacks confidence. That's why I say I have very limited sympathy for Jim Rodwell. Right, I'm going to come off before I get myself in trouble. But I hope you'll have a wonderful rest of your evenings. Try and get some sleep on Friday night. And here's hoping to God that we get that point. So we feel, I don't know, like I feel something. Anyway, thanks for joining me. See you all later.